Hi everybody, I'm Bill Sanders and this is Watch Art Sci, the art and science of watch collection. Today what I'd like to do is what is sort of you're waiting, you're saving up for a watch, and so you're sitting around with no watch or just playing with your old ones, and but you got the bug, you really want to get something new. But it's going to take you a while to save up 5,000 or 10,000 or 1,000 depending on your finances. Well, what I'm going to do today, I want to show you how to make your own watch for lots of reasons. It's fun. You learn a lot about horology this way. And, you're not spending a fortune on watches that probably aren't as good as you would like. These are good because you're making them yourself. This is one I made recently for my grandson, and it's a lot of fun. Okay, so let's get started. What I did is that I put together a collection of parts and tools you need to make a watch. The total amount came to under $100. So let's take a look at it and I'll show you what I did. Okay, first of all, you need four basic parts. Now, I didn't include the strap. You're on your own for getting a strap. That's not hard. You can get it from AliExpress or you can get it from your local strap dealer down at the jewelry store. Okay, so the first thing you're going to need is the most important thing is you're going to need a movement. Now, the movement that I got is called a Siegel, I think it's ST3600. And what it is, it's essentially a clone of an ETA 6497. And a 6497 and a 6498 are almost identical. I'm going to use them interchangeably here. The essence of a 6497 is that um, they have the small seconds at 9 o'clock. A 6498 has them down at 6 o'clock. Otherwise, they're virtually identical. They're both hand wound and they're pretty good size. They originated as pocket watches, but they've been very popular for making wristwatches too. Okay, so first thing we're going to get the ETA 6497 clone movement. It's by Siegel, 3369. That's the price of it. Now I got all of these things at a place called AliExpress. You can get yours wherever you want. These seem to be the the least expensive. Okay, for hands, we get a set of hands. So you're going to need an hour hand, a minute hand, and a second hand. The set costs $7.87. Some of them are much cheaper than that, but I thought, well, we'll get some nice ones. Pretty nice anyway. They're Breguet hands. For the case, the what we need is a case that we can put our watch in. This one has a back on it, and most of mine do, that you just unscrew it. This is important because the ones that you take off with a case knife or you have to pop open, the time you get finished with that, your case is all scratched up. These are make it very nice and simple. Plus the fact we're going to get one with an exhibition window. Okay, so that's the first thing. $25 for that. There's some other versions of it that are more that you can find. So, but the big thing is on both the hands and the case and in a bit the dial, they have to be for a 6497 type of movement. We'll call it a sort of, because everything has to fit together. If your case is too small, your movement won't fit in it. So you have to get a case that's big enough. All right, and the same thing with a dial. The dial, we want a dial that has the small seconds over at 1 o'clock. Now, this one has a dial at 6 o'clock. So you got to watch out for that. Say, oh, let me get a dial for 64.97, and you've got to notice that it has to be over at 9 o'clock instead of 6 o'clock. This one, excuse me, it has a sub dial at over at 9 o'clock, so you can see the difference between the two. Okay, so uh, the dial that I selected, you want to get a halfway decent dial. This one was $10. So the total for all of the parts that we're going to need for this watch is $75.98. Now the next thing we're going to do, and this is just assuming that you're starting from scratch, you're going to need some tools. The tools that I always use in just about all kinds of things are simply these two. One has a purple neck, and the other one has a red neck. The one with the red neck, I tend to use the most. The color coding is based on the millimeter size of the screw head. So this is important. It's very important too to when you're using a screwdriver, not only on a watch but on anything, is as much as possible the head of the here screwdriver should be the same size as the head of the screw. Okay, so when you have it color coded, it's very easy once you get to know the screws in it. As far as a brass tweezers are concerned, they don't magnetize as much as the steel ones, and so you don't accidentally, you're picking up something, a real small screw, and the screw sticks to the tweezers because it's magnetized, it's out of steel. This is one way to reduce that. It's not totally perfectly so. All the next that's $8 for that. This is all from AliExpress. Now the next thing that you're going to need is called a hand setter. You can do it. You can sort of jerry rig something to do it with, but these things are really helpful because different size hands require, the red end is for like the hour hand and the black hand is for the minute hand, or it's the other way around, one of those two. And I found a little hand setting kit that comes with 3 of these, which means you're going to get it for 6 different kinds of screws, 1, 2, and then the other one, each one has 2. It also has a what's called a dial cushion with it, so that's nice to have. And it's got a little puffer that you blow the dust away. You want to keep it dust free, and then it has some putty, and it's got a little thing for hands and a little brush. But really, for $1.99, you're not going to get the greatest in the world, but it'll be functionally useful. The other thing that we're going to need is some kind of movement holder. Here's one I have right here. I got to be careful with it because you want it to hold it nice and steady. One, you get a couple of them for $1.99. This one I happen to use. They have some other ones you might like better. Here's a big fat one, and you can do a lot of different things with it, different widths of these things and so forth. Okay, and the last tool you need is going to be a loop and a loop set. Now, the biggest mistake I think a lot of beginners make is that they want to get a loop with like 10x or something like that. You only need one between about 3.5 and 5x. This one is one I use a lot. I like it because it's rubber here, so if I'm looking at something without my glasses, it's really nice. On my glasses, I have one that I like, that one that you see in the picture. That one's 5x for glasses. That single loop is $1.99. Again, these are not the greatest optical things in the world. Believe me, you can find them a lot more expensive than that. I've got one that was $100 for a special eye thing that I had. I got another one called a loop system. It's fantastic, but you don't need to spend that much. You really don't. Okay, so you have the parts. Now here's a very short tutorial on how to put things together. And by the way, I mentioned these finger cots. These are for hanging onto things without getting oils and stuff from your hands on them. There are a lot of great videos on YouTube, and you can do a YouTube search and say, you want how to build a watch, using AliExpress or eBay parts to it. Believe me, you'll get a lot of them. But what I'm going to do, I'm just sort of going to give you some sense of it so you can see if you say, yeah, well, I'm waiting for my 5,000, 10,000, or way up there watch. I might as well do something while I'm saving up for it. Okay, so let's take a look at these things. Now, here's the first thing is you start with your movement, and you have two sides to it. This is called the dial side, and this is the back of it, I guess, or depending on how you look at it, it's just sort of the business side, and the other side is sort of the presentation side. Now, when you turn it toward yourself, I'll turn around so you can see, when you're looking at the dial side, and you have the position of the stem is always going to be at 3 o'clock. And so when you're putting on your dial, you want to have it so that when you line up the 3 with the dial, and you can save a lot of trouble. Now, at the bottom of the dial is let's see if I can get this out of here. I put it on here, it doesn't want to come off there. At the bottom of every dial are what called dial feet. And what these dial feet do is that there are special holes in here that are locking holes. And so when instead of trying to figure out where the dial feet go, all you got to do is just put the dial so the 3 o'clock is at the stem. I put it down here so you can see the stem right there, and you can see it in the picture there. And so that's the first thing. Now, on the back, you flip it over, and this is where you want to do this. You don't want to have something rough on your dial to mess it up, and this little cushion for it. And what you do, you use your purple your purple neck screwdriver, and there are two little screws there. Now, once you have it in like this, and you take it, and these screws are tightening screws. It's almost impossible to see it from here. And you just put your old screwdriver there and just turn it about a half a turn. And what they have like a little lock that comes around and holds on to the dial fit. Okay, so it's really very easy and very ingenious to do. And I don't know of any watch that doesn't have that kind of configuration. So what you have, but before you do that, is another thing that's easy to make. There's a special gear when you get your movement. In the movement package, you'll find these two gears. You'll find an hour gear, and you'll find a special washer. You put the hour gear on top of the center pivot pinion point. Put it on there with the teeth side down and the other side up. It's sort of like a collar, and the hour hand will go on top of that collar. And then, but before you do that, you put the washer on with the bend going upwards. Then you put the hand on, then you put the dial, and then the hand on top of that. Um, Here is would be a typical kind of setup that you have for that. Let me see if I can get this thing done right. Yeah, and not drop it. Okay. See, that is being held by this case, and so while it's being held by the case, then you can work with your hands and your dial, your hand setting tool. You use your tweezers, take the hand, put it over the pivot point or the pinion or the shaft, whatever you want to call it, and then you push it down with the hour hand side of your pusher. Now, the one that I recommended had 3 different ones, so we had 6 different sizes, so it's sort of easy to find the right one. Some of you, there's, like I said, there are all kinds of other ones that are fancier. But for this, just poke it in with this thing. Now, here what you have. Okay, so you put the hands on, and you have your hands. There's your subdial over at 9 o'clock. Putting on a second hand can be a challenge, so be sure to have your loop ready for that. Now, so the one of the last things you have to deal with is that you have your case. Here's a movement without the case in the case, and in order to get it into the case, you have to take the stem out, put it in the case, and then put the stem back in. This turns out to be pretty easy to do. Here you use your redneck screwdriver, and there's a little bitty screw, and it's true with just about all of them. You see your stem, and there's a little screw right about where the stem enters. You can see I did a close-up for you on that picture there. And then you're all set. So then you take the back off of the case. You just unscrew this like here, drop it into the case, and then, then looking at it, you maneuver it so that the 3 o'clock on the dial is lined up with the stem. Okay, and then you put the stem back in and tighten up the screw. Now, what you're going to find is you get the crowns that they give you on the base movement. They're pretty cheap. They're just something to get it going with. And what you do with it is that, and I haven't done with this one yet, but this will give you an idea of what I have to do. This is a gold-plated one I got. Whoopee. And it comes with a gold-plated crown. Well, I haven't put the crown on yet, and so what I have to do is unscrew this crown. It's not hard to do. Give it trim it down a little, and then put it back in. Tighten the stem release screw, and you're all set to go. I mean, it's not rocket science, but it's a lot of fun. And you learn things. You learn about the parts of a movement and watches and so forth. Anyway, like I said, this is something you might want to take a look at. You might want to have a little fun with. Cost me $97.31, without the customs or taxes or anything. It might be a little on that, but it's better than going out and taking $1,000 or a couple $1,000 and I think I'll get this watch, just while I'm waiting for my other one. Believe me, this can occupy your time for a while. It's sort of a cool thing to do. One of the guys that introduced me into sort of watchmaking he told me, he said, man, he's one of the best things, I give all my relatives all these watches they've made, entertaining myself with. Anyway, I'd like to know what you think. There's a group that we have. It's a Facebook group called Pretentious Watchmakers. I'm a proud member and founder, as a matter of fact. And we just talk about these things. It's not something for professionals, believe me. This is for a bunch of guys just having some fun with this. and gals too. So let me know what you think. It's an opportunity to subscribe if you like. And until next time, this is Bill Sanders for Watch Art Side, the art and science of watch collection.